Camp Boniface. The United Nations Command is a multinational coalition force that helps monitor the Korean armistice and maintain regional stability through Northeast Asia. The UNC Security Battalion was established in the spring of 1952, originally consisting of 5 officers and 10 enlisted men. We reached our peak strength near the end of the Korean War with approximately 1,900 soldiers assigned. To place your tour to a better context, I'll briefly review the political history of the Korean Peninsula. Prior to World War II, the Japanese had colonized the Korean Peninsula. In the final days of this war, the Soviet Union accepted the surrender of the Japanese north of the 38th parallel, while the United States accepted their surrender south of the 38th parallel. The 38th parallel was never meant to be a political boundary nor a division of country. It was merely established to designate areas of responsibility. So in May of 1948, elections were held in the South, and this man, Dr. Sungmun-Rhee, was elected the first president of the Republic of Korea. In September of that same year, the Soviet Union appointed this man, Kim Il-sung, to be the first premier of communist North Korea. He reigned for approximately 46 years until his death in July of 1994. His eldest son, Kim Jong-il, succeeded him in power. This is the first ever father-to-son succession of power to take place in a communist country. Despite attempts to reunify the Korean Peninsula, on 25 June 1950, North Korea launched a massive surprise attack. This ensuing war lasted for over 3 years and cost over 2 million people their lives. Within the first month of this war, North Korean forces had captured most of the Korean Peninsula. Coalition forces were able to stop the North Korean advance around the city of Busan. Over the next 4 months, the United Nations Command conducted the Incheon landing, pushing the North Korean forces back to the Yalu River, the border between North Korea and China, at which point China entered the war, aiding North Korea in their war efforts. The war began to stabilize around the 38th parallel. However, no permanent settlement has yet been reached. On 27 July 1953, military commanders from the United Nations Command, the Korean People's Army, and the Chinese People Volunteers signed an armistice or a ceasefire agreement. This agreement is still in effect today. This white dotted line represents the Military Demarcation Line, or MDL. Under the provisions of the armistice, all military commanders were ordered to pull their troops back 2,000 meters from the last point of hostile contact, thus creating a 4-kilometer wide, a 241-kilometer long demilitarized zone, or DMZ. Note your location to Seoul. Here at Camp Boniface, you are currently 400 meters from the southern boundary of the DMZ and 2.4 kilometers from the MDL itself. This is the city of Kaesong, where all the original sightings of the talks were held for the ceasefire agreement prior to being moved to the Panmunjom, or what we call the Joint Security Area. Although the DMZ has become one of the most militarized locations in the world, the MDL itself consists of no fortifications. It is simply a series of 1,292 black and yellow panel markers that run from coast to coast and are set in 100 to 200 meter intervals. On the southern side, they are labeled in Hangul or Korean at the top and English at the bottom. And on the northern side, they are labeled in Hangul or Korean at the top and Chinese or Mandarin at the bottom. The MDL itself is more clearly defined throughout the Joint Security Area by a series of white stakes. These white stakes stand at 1 meter in height and are set in 10-meter intervals, and they do extend through Conference Row, bisecting each building by a 17 by 5 inch concrete slab. This is the area where we will be visiting today. Notice how the MDL winds its way through the middle of the DMZ and forms a finger within the Joint Security Area. Upon arriving at Checkpoint 3, you will be surrounded on 3 sides by Communist North Korea. We'll start our tour here at Camp Boniface, exiting off on the MSR, or Main Supply Route, also known as Old Highway 1. For over 50 years, this is the only stretch of highway connecting North and South Korea until the decision was made to open the eastern and western transportation corridors. This is still the only stretch of highway used to reach the Joint Security Area for all armistice-related events. On your trip north today, we'll point out Guard Post 240, Observation Post Oliet, the village of Taesongdong, or Freedom Village, the village of Gyeongdong, or Propaganda Village, the Swiss and Swedish Neutral Nations Supervisory Commission Camp, and the former Czech and Polish NNSC. I will now highlight in more detail some of the areas which we will be seeing today on our tour. First is the village of Tay Songdong, or Freedom Village. United Nations Command is in control of implementing civil affairs and security throughout this unique village. We do so through a security company which guards the village 24 hours a day. It guards the residents during the day while they tend to their fields, and it guards the village at night while the residents sleep. Although the residents do own rather large homes and large allocations of farmland, they do fall under some severe restrictions. They have to be within the village by nightfall, and in their homes with their windows and doors securely locked by midnight. 1,800 meters away from this village across the MDL is the village of Gijongdong, or Propaganda Village. Gijongdong obtained its name due to an extremely large speaker system that was once located throughout this area. It would broadcast propaganda 6 to 12 hours a day. It could be heard here at Camp Boniface, but mostly at night. This propaganda would idolize Kim Jong-il as a great leader and to invite the citizens of Tay Songdong as well as the rest of the republic to defect to this so-called village of paradise. However, if one were to defect here, they would find themselves rather lonely, for this village is mostly uninhabited. We do see people here from time to time who work at the Kaesong Industrial Complex and help upkeep and maintain these buildings, and they help lower and raise this extremely large North Korean flag. This is one of the largest flags in the world. It has an approximate length of 31 meters. This is the second of 2 flagpoles to have stood in the village of Gijongdong. In 1981, the Republic of Korea donated this flagpole to the village of Taesongdong. It just so happened it stood taller than the flagpole in Gijongdong. So North Korea quickly responded by building an even larger flag. The flagpole in the village of Taesongdong stands at 100 meters in height, while the flagpole in the village of Gijongdong stands at 160 meters in height. Also, upon arriving at the Joint Security Area, I will point out the Neutral Nations Supervisory Commission Camp. Delegates from Switzerland, Sweden, Czechoslovakia, and Poland formed the original NNSC. This commission was in charge of investigating all armistice violations that occur outside of the DMZ. Currently, we work with 3 delegates, the Swiss and the Swedes, who stay year-round, and the Polish who come from the biannual meetings. Also, for checkpoint 3, we will point out the former Czech and Polish NNSC camp, which is seen here on your right, and on your left, the North Korean People's Peace Museum. It was constructed in under 48 hours for the sole purpose of signing of the armistice. Also, from checkpoint 3, we will point out the Bridge of No Return. The Bridge of No Return obtained its name near the end of the Korean War when Operation Big Switch and Operation Little Switch was conducted. The United Nations Command returned approximately 82,000 prisoners of war, while the Chinese and North Korea returned approximately 13,000. These prisoners were lined up on either side of the bridge and given the opportunity to cross with the country of their choosing. However, once they crossed, they could never return, hence the name. The Bridge of No Return is located in the southern portion of the Joint Security Area. All the blue buildings you see are ran by the United Nations Command, or UNC, while the red buildings you see are ran by North Korea, or the KPA. Prior to 1976, the Joint Security Area was a neutral location. Both guard forces could cross the MDL freely. North Korea took full advantage of this by building 4 communist guard posts on the southern boundary road of the Joint Security Area, while the UNC built none in the north. Note the location of checkpoint 4 and how it is surrounded on 3 sides by communist guard posts and isolated from the rest of the Joint Security Area. Soldiers at checkpoint 3 had limited visibility of the soldiers at checkpoint 4 due to an extremely large yellow poplar tree that once grew in this area. So on 18th August 1976, the United Nations Command in the Joint Security Area dispatched a 5-man civilian work detail along with a 12-man security force to conduct a routine tree trimming operation. Among their arrival, they were met by approximately 28 North Korean guards. Work did start as scheduled, however, 15 minutes after work began, North Korea attacked. This ensuing battle only lasted 4 minutes, but in this time, JSA Company Commander Captain Arthur Boniface, the 1st Platoon Leader, 1st Lieutenant Mark Baird, were brutally axed to death. To show you how outnumbered they were on this day, I will point out a few soldiers located throughout this photo. First, it's rather hard to make out, but you can see in here fighting off 7 KPA guards. Next is the helmet of Captain Arthur Boniface, who was brutally axed to death in front of his own vehicle. Next, you can clearly see a North Korean soldier wielding an axe towards a JSA soldier. Due to these unprovoked acts of violence, a special series of meetings were held and the decision was made that the MDL should separate the 2 guard forces throughout the Joint Security Area. There were no more acts of violence until 23rd November 1984, when a Soviet citizen on a North Korean-sponsored tour dashed across the MDL in an attempt to defect to the free world. He was followed by North Korean guards armed with pistols and rifles in an attempt to kill or capture him. There was approximately 30 North Korean guards located in the northern portion of the JSA Sunken Garden. The JSA Quick Reaction Team was quickly alerted and able to halt and outflank the North Korean main body. This ensuing firefight lasted for 20 minutes, and in this time the KPA had 3 soldiers killed and 5 soldiers wounded, while the UNC had 1 soldier killed, Corporal Jang, and 1 soldier wounded. The Soviet citizen was protected throughout the entire firefight and evacuated back here to Camp Boniface. On your trip north today, we will see North Korean guards. These red armbands state that they are military police. Under the provisions of the Armistice Agreement, all armed personnel within the DMZ must wear these armbands. However, North Korea no longer do so. They might come down to see our tour today, and if they do, we ask that you do not communicate with them verbally or non-verbally. We provide security and assistance for humanitarian operations, such as the repatriation of remains from the Korean War and the delivery of humanitarian aid to the north. We also provide security and assistance for visiting dignitaries and heads of state, such as former U.S. President George W. Bush, South Korean President Lee Myung-bak, Prime Minister of New Zealand John Key, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, and Secretary of Defense Honorable Robert Gates, all seen here on their tour of the Panmunjom. Like these dignitaries, you will be guarded from soldiers from this security battalion. On your right is a U.S. Army infantry soldier. We serve a minimum of 12 months here. And on your left is a Republic of Korea or ROK soldier. They serve a minimum of 24 months here. All soldiers must meet above standard aptitudes as regular soldiers and possess a clean military as well as civilian record. It is due to this and the fact that we are the most forwardly deployed unit on the Korean Peninsula, and the fact that we stand face to face with our enemy on a daily basis, that the United Nations Command, the Republic of Korea, and the United States Army give us our motto, which we so proudly state. Ladies and gentlemen, we are truly in front of them all. Thank you. All right, at this time, ladies and gentlemen, my bus, Bus A, our buses will be parked out there. Our bus will be on the right-hand side. Bus B, your bus will be on the left-hand side. If anyone has to use the restrooms, they are located directly across the hall. The men's is first, and then the women's is second. They'll be on your right-hand side. And also, if you don't have to use the restroom, please make your way to the bus. We will give you plenty of time after our tour to visit the gift shop. Thank you.